Hello, BookTube, and I would like to wish everybody a happy Juneteenth. If you are celebrating, protesting, or just going out, please take all safety precautions. We still have a pandemic, which seems to be, at least locally, getting worse. The past few days have seen record numbers of confirmed cases. So please be mindful that there is still a pandemic going on. So today is Friday, and that is Weekly Reads, or Friday Reads, but yeah, I call it Weekly Reads because I discuss what I've been reading the whole week. I'm doing this I'm doing this earlier than I usually do on Fridays because I have uncle duties to perform when I usually film, so I'll go ahead and do this video earlier. So my reading week has been, for the most part, good. I've been reading Patrick Raddon Keefe Say Nothing for the BookTube Prize during the work week, and I'm hoping to finish it this afternoon before I go over to watch my niece and nephews. And as it is for the BookTube Prize, I can only say I'm reading it and I have read it. But this past weekend, I did get 2 books read. On Saturday, I read The Unspoken Name by A.K. Larkwood. This is I think it's a debut fantasy. It is about Kasorwe, a young orc priestess who has been promised to the god of their world, and she absconds with the connivance assistance of a sorcerer who she then begins to serve as an assassin as he seeks to reclaim his rightful station as the chancellor of a university city. So I really enjoyed the book. The plot, the world building. So there are a number of worlds in this setting, connected through a sort of pan-dimensional world, and they're connected by basically stargates. Just instead of science fiction, it's fantasy. And a lot of these worlds are very interesting, and the cultures that Larkwood develops for them are incredibly interesting. And I love the characterization, particularly Kasorwe. She's a brilliant creation, I think. And the plot of how, it goes from Kasorwe as an intended sacrifice to working for the sorcerer. Let me refresh his name, because his name is kind of difficult to pronounce. Sethanai, or Sethan-A. It's really good, and then returning Sethan-A to his prior career, and then the final arc where she meets a young sorceress researcher, Sethmili, and begins romance with over the course of the final chapters of the book, which is really incredibly well done. My only issue with the book is there's a revelation at the end that I don't think really... I think it hampers the landing, or it tumbles the landing. It prevents the book from really sticking the landing satisfactorily, using gymnastics and maybe figure skating terminology to this, for literary criticism purposes. And I'm not entirely sure about the characterizations of the 2 queer male characters. They seem a little bit problematic, I think. But for the most part, I really enjoyed the Unspoken name. And I am looking forward to what she produces in the future, whether it's sequels for a series or she goes for more other work. So, and then the second book I read last weekend was The Black Tides of Heaven by J.Y. Yang. This is a reread. I read it first in late 2017, and I don't know what impressions the few times I've talked about The Black Tides of Heaven have given. I have issues with this story. I love the world building, the concepts behind it, the silk punk, the agendered youth and adolescence, the confirmation later on. I love all of that stuff. But the character, particularly of Akeha, the main character for this story, and the narrative choices for this particular work, I don't think really work. So basically, Black Tides of Heaven is the life of the twins of the Protector, Akeha and Mokoya. Mokoya is the main character of, or the main point of view character of Red Thread of Fortune, the sort of sibling book to this one. They were released together. And in that story, the narrative is much more concise, much more focused. In this one, it's choppy. It skips years. Basically, it begins with the twins being born, and then goes to them being 6, and then 9, and then 16, 17, and then in their 20s, and then into their 30s. And it's really choppy, and the narrative, I think, struggles to give a sense of how these characters develop and why, what triggers those developments. And I think they don't really have a good handle on Akeha's personality, I don't think, or character. It seems Akeha's actions are more determined by that's what he's supposed to do as a protagonist, rather than really how it would work. It just doesn't quite work for me. And I've always kind of got the impression that Yang has a stronger sense of what they want to do with Mokoya than relatively with Akeha. Although that could be more of how this book is structured compared to the other books in the series, except for maybe Ascent to Godhood. But anyway, so yeah, I think my opinions from 2017 regarding Black Tides of Heaven are the same, largely. Although maybe a greater appreciation for the world building than maybe in 2017, which I do really like how Yang builds their world. So now let's move on to what I plan on reading this weekend and into the coming work week. So I have 4 books. I'm probably not going to be able to read all of them, and if I don't, they'll bleed over into the last few days of June. So tomorrow I intend to start on Boulevard by Jim Grimsley. I have had this book forever, and it is well past time I finally get around to reading it. And I am quite looking forward to finally reading Boulevard. I also really need to go and reread Dream Boy too while I'm at it. Also, I want to read The Last Romeo by Justin Myers. I don't remember if I put this in my, I want to say I probably did, my Pride TBR, but I'm quite looking forward to reading this one too. And then I have 2 rereads. The Tiger's Daughter by Arsenault Rivera, which, if you've seen some of my videos where I talk about The Tiger's Daughter, I do have some issues with the book, and I want to go back through and see if time and distance has either changed my opinions or my analysis, my interpretation of the story, or my interpretations are confirmed, at least for me. And then I also want to reread A Memory Called Empire by Arkady Martine. I read this last September for Space Opera September. It was a readathon hosted by Thomas Wagner of SSF 180, and I quite enjoyed this book. I had some issues with the world building, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to having another read of this one. So that's my reading plans for this weekend and next week. And if I add any books, I'll add them next Friday. So next week, on Tuesday, I will be putting up a summer school readathon TBR. For those of you who don't know, Doris of All D Books is hosting a readathon for July called the Summer School Readathon that I think sounds absolutely fantastic. So I'll be participating. I know what I want to do for at least 2 of the prompts. I need to figure out what I want to do for another 2 of the prompts. And then I have something special for the final prompt. So hopefully everything works out, and hopefully I'm kept to it. So yeah. And then I also found when I was moving my writing notebooks from a box under my bed to some drawers, I found an old list of the books I had from about a decade ago that I've been going through, and I was thinking of making a video going through them, what books I still have, what books I've since gotten rid of, which ones I'm like cool not picking back up again, and then those books I'm like, what the heck were you thinking getting rid of them? And basically continuing to balloon my Amazon and the Libris and all my other TBRs or wish lists. So if any of you are interested, leave a comment if you would like to see that video. Leave a comment. I might do that on Monday or Wednesday, depending when I get around to watching the reading the comments for this video. Since it seems Amazon or oh dear. Okay. Since it seems YouTube is having another round of issues with comments, I'm not seeing them in my notification bell. I'm pretty much having to go through the channel page to find the comments. So so it might be a while before I respond, since I'm not seeing them unless I'm like uploading a new video. So anyway, besides that, have a great weekend. Again, if you are celebrating, protesting, or just getting out, please take all necessary precautions. I mean, there is still a pandemic going on, and I don't want to, this virus is bad, and you don't want to get sick. So please take all precautions to keep yourself safe, and I will see you on Monday. Thank you, BookTube.